Hello, hi, how are you doing? Following up from the last video about doing nothing, today I wanted to talk about doing something, or rather, how much something you can do, or more precisely, how much you should do, probably. That is because, as we know, the designer's mind is always full of things, and you love to do things, isn't it? You always have new ideas, you want to follow up that ideas, you sketch something, you note down something, you think, okay, hey, that's something, that I really want to figure out or dive a little bit deeper. And well, people say, that the creative mind is like a browser with 150 tabs open at the same time. That can't be a good thing, can it? Well, in our culture at the moment, this kind of, glorified hustle culture where we all do three jobs brilliantly at the same time while doing all sorts of other things. So that's kind of celebrated that you actually run around with those 150 open tabs and you deal with all of them. But do you actually really? There is, of course, the other issue that is if you are working for yourself, and even if you have a couple of jobs and projects going on, you are always on the lookout for the next because, well, that's what you have to do. It's if you have a job, a project or so that keeps you busy for this month or the next month, will still keep you busy the month after. So now while you're working on it, it's the time to actually make sure that in 2 months or in half a year there is something else coming up. Because if you only start searching for or following new leads when the old jobs are done, that's a little bit too late because you're gonna. So the bottom line is you always have to keep looking. You have to, network. You talk with the people. There's, you heard of something that you, well, feel that's worth investigating. And again, not even, putting aside that that whole thing about ideas constantly popping up in your head, there, you actually do have to follow leads like some sort of a, dachshund on a mission. But yeah, when is it too much? Because inevitably it is too much. There is. It's just the fact that the day does have only 24 hours, and you do have to do a little bit of sleep, and you have to do some rather boring and mundane tasks such as eating and brushing your teeth. So eventually there is a moment when everything will be too much, and you have to kind of filter and focus on the important things, and you might actually have to learn to say no. Or maybe you have a good conversation, but maybe you don't have to be the one that then writes an email in a week or so and say, hey, we had a good conversation, let's work on that. Because even if it is, it is your genuine desire to do it and to follow it up, you might end up actually not following up and what's worse, being straight, and say, okay, well, contact me if you feel like, we're up to something. Or if you say, if you send 3 emails in a row, say, hey, that conversation was really cool, and I'm so much looking forward to doing something. And then you put it on your list, and then it stays on the list, and it stays on the list. So I think yeah, you probably, and this is something that I'm guilty of, because you know, I would love to follow up everything because not because I'm desperate, but because I think I'm generally curious and I like to discover new things, like to do new projects. But you kind of start wearing thin. So if you stretch yourself too much, so I think the bottom line is stretch yourself a little bit less so that you actually can put more focus and more energy into fewer things. Of course, keep things on the back boiler, fine. Um, Keep, let's say, because for what I said before about searching for something that will pay the rent. After this one, after the current project is finished, do your marketing, do your talks, but the important thing is, yeah, there are there are the tasks, there are the daily tasks, there are the dreams that, yeah, I don't, I'm not saying, discard everything, but while you are working on certain things, do know what is your priority and do not get distracted or stretched out too far with too many things at the same time, because I think it's not working. It's not sustainable. That's the fact. And don't forget, in between, you do need to have those times for yourself, for maybe a hobby, for your family, of course. And yeah, you do need your time for doing nothing, because if you don't do that, you're gonna run on empty batteries eventually, and that's not working either, is it? So that's just my 2 cents on the topic, and I am by far not an expert. I am doing it wrong all the time and stretching myself too thin, and yeah, I'm gonna learn. And yeah, I hope you found that thoughts a little bit useful too. So see you next time.